Grandmaster Soto, eight-time World Commitment Champion. You're listening to Justin Ray Harvey Radio Show. YouTube. So tune in for the best of the best.
Click, click, boom!
Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a special late night edition of the Justin Harvey Show, which will be featured on iTunes and many other places. Tonight's guest, I consider a close friend of mine who needs no introduction to this show. If you've kept up with my shows through the years, I would like to welcome back Grandmaster Irving Soto to the show. Welcome, sir.
Hey, Justin, how are you? How's everything going on?
I am doing fantastic, sir. As we talked on the phone, I let you know about my induction into the USA Martial Arts Hall of Fame in 2015. I was so excited, I had to let you know. So,
congratulations, that's fantastic. You was well deserved, and throughout the years you have done so much keeping abreast with topics and and getting out there and letting people know about martial arts history and science, and who's out there too. So that's a beautiful thing, and he's well deserved, and I'm glad you're receiving that award. Fantastic.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for your time. But before we get to what you would like to discuss tonight, I wanted to start tonight's show about me and you were talking that I had brought up that with this show, I have any martial artist on the show, whether it's, for example, could be David Carradine, Cynthia Rothrock, Dawn the Dragon Wilson. I think that, to a point that martial arts has become political because, we're at each other's throat when we should be embracing each other.
Oh yeah, and martial arts. The problem with, I think, a lot of people, sit around and and attack other people for whatever reason, profit and gain, and I think that's ridiculous. I think people should understand that martial arts is a thing to. When I took martial arts because it was a thing to learn how to have honor and respect, and learn how to defend myself, against multi-attacks or assailants or somebody trying to hurt me in any way, And so when people do that and sit there, are these people real? Are these people real true? Or they just sit around, just have nothing else? They need to get a life, actually, because to do that is ridiculous. You have children growing up in society that look up to Grandmasters and Masters and Shihan, Henchi, if you're calling yourself any of the above, then you got to act accordingly. Kids are looking at this, and I talk to hundreds of kids, and even though a lot of the children, when I teach, they base their opinions, and sometimes it's sad because I don't really know what to say, other than just people can be ignorant. And I think it's going to come to an end,
Oh, absolutely, because with my little show, Grandmaster Soto, my goal is to bring unity back into the martial arts world,
And I think you're doing that. I think, Justin, unity, all Grandmasters and Masters got to stop that bickering. We have all these problems today with all these attacks. You have, these terrorist groups and stuff like that. It's a form to me like a terrorist, when you do things like that, and bullying and stupidness, coming from anybody that is another martial artist or claims to be a martial artist and sits there and attack others for, like I said, profit and gain. So your show is very important because when you're sitting and bringing people like these folks that you mentioned and myself, it's a wonderful thing because, it gives the public a sense of awareness that there's still good people out there, and still brothers in the martial arts, and people that really want to do the right thing in the arts.
But also, for those that have not heard, past shows that we have done together, I would encourage my people to go to iTunes and download those episodes. But not only are you a Grandmaster, but you're also an 8-time world Kumite champion.
That's correct. At one time, and I know it's been a long time since I've done that. But to me, when I was younger, I used to love stepping into and getting into tournaments, brawls. I mean, Backstreet Brawl in Chinatown, a whole bunch of stuff, that I traveled around the country, spent hundreds of dollars out of my pocket to wanting to learn how to fight and learn how to become a champion of some type, and I did that. Honestly, whether people want to understand that or not, I mean, it's just something that when I was practicing, and I still practice, of course, but when I was practicing as a young man, I wanted to learn how, I wanted to learn how to fight. I mean, I just, I grew up in such a ferocious place in Brooklyn, and I wanted to learn how to defend myself. And and I remember when the first Kung Fu movies came out, early 70s. It was Five Fingers of Death. I remember that, and then after that, shortly, Bruce Lee, and then from Bruce Lee, it was those basically the first movies that actually appeared, and I used to sit down in New York in Chinatown and go see the matinees with, and of course they were subtitle movies. And I was already practicing martial arts, and I wanted to, these guys were doing some ferocious and fantastic things and to me, when I was, looking at these movies, I said, wow, is that real? These guys are flying up in the air and all that stuff. Where, to me, it didn't matter. It's just the beauty of what the martial arts was starting to evolve. Like today, you have MMA. It's a good thing, even though people may contest against it, I think it's a good thing. I think the martial arts has to evolve. Like Bruce Lee, when Bruce Lee came out, Bruce Lee put himself not out there. He had school in Oakland, not too far from where I'm at, where I'm living from, which is today is a really ferocious neighborhood like Brooklyn and Bronx and East New York. But when he was there, he had diversity. He teaching all multi people. I remember when I was many years ago. This is super early, in the '60s. I was a young kid, and I was going to take some classes in Chinatown. They were very, I don't want to say racist, but I want to say they were apprehensive of teaching someone of color. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people sometimes got an issue with if you were a different person or a different person of color, and you say, well, I've studied these things for many years, and all of a sudden, people, how could you be? You're not, no disrespect to the Asian culture or Oriental culture. I mean, you're not Asian, you're not Japanese, you're not, this and that. You don't have to be none of the above. So the reason why I mention MMA is because it expands the truth behind it. Because when you see two guys getting out there, at the end of the night, it's just you and him. Yeah. Traditional martial arts is really good. It teaches some simplistic, and understanding of culture. But what's happened throughout the years, from what I see, Justin, what happened throughout the years is that everybody has, done their own thing, like in reference to, they have created throughout, because some of the Grandmasters and Masters of traditional have died, and they have given people, at one time when I was a kid, I remember I was training many years ago, straight karate and all that stuff, and it was very traditional. Meaning traditional, you wasn't getting no rank unless you were doing what you were doing, with sticking it out, and it took you forever. You know what I mean? Today, people whether they want to accept it or not, they have mixed their arts up. You know what I mean? Because it takes a half a lifetime to become a Grandmaster. I'm talking about if you really was going to stick to it and to really develop your form of fighting. Because after a while, everybody's form of fighting, it has a form of fighting. It takes you decades, just to really develop your form of fighting. And what I mean, I'm not getting out there and saying that everybody should go and create their style. Let's go back to Bruce Lee. I know I mentioned Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee, that's what Bruce Lee was trying to get at, to emphasize the intercepting soft fist, to emphasize that a man can do martial arts if he really wanted to become really good at what he did. He had to really practice what he preaches. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely, and I wanted to comment on something here, Grandmaster Soto, and I'm not stepping on anyone's toes here, but there's something that I've always wanted to get your thoughts on. I know that Bloodsport is a very popular movie about Frank Dukes, but I sit back sometimes and think, why didn't they do? I wonder sometimes why didn't they do a character in the film, based on you as well? Do you sometimes feel, overlooked?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to blame Mr. Dukes or anything like that, because I'm pretty sure he had, what can I say? Hollywood, like I say, yeah, I do. There's some times in life, where, I feel that I have, in a lot of ways, been, discriminated when people talk nonsense, you know what I'm saying? Discrimination can be in a lot of ways, you know what I mean? I've been, ridiculed and all that stuff, but I don't care. I really, the way I look at it, it doesn't matter to me. As far as the films and stuff like that, they should, unfortunately, there's a lot of good people out there, too, that perhaps deserve to have films made out of them, you know what I mean? Yes, I feel that they should, could have came to me and asked questions, and others that perhaps fought that event, many of those events, because they had a lot of tournaments that are backstreet barred and tournaments that was illegal when you fought them, you know what I'm saying? And it's sad that you can sit here, when I used to do it, I was a young man, didn't really care, like I said, I wanted to learn how to become really good. I went in there. Sometimes you get hurt. You come home, you're really ferociously, feeling it, for 2 or 3 weeks, after, because you're fighting 3 or 4 guys or 5 guys, depending how the tournament goes, in traditional tournaments, or if they're not a traditional tournaments, you fight in these tournaments where I don't care who says they don't get hurt, or I just walked out of there looking good. That's not true, because any tournament, if you're fighting full contact, you're going to feel, the laceration, and that's why you're training hard, so that you can withstand those punches. But at the end of when you get older is when you realize, hey man, what did I do this for? I'm feeling this stuff today. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
So with the tournament, just to answer your question, I hope I'm not being evasive. It's just basically the bottom line. Yes, I do feel that way. I wish that people, sometimes when you do something, you come out, you sit in the dark. Let me say it like this: you sit in the dark, right? And you really didn't care. I really didn't care to really get any type of recognition. You come out later and you say, "Hey, man, I was part of this." I was one of those guys. And unfortunately, people can be melodramatic or really ferocious. And say, "Well, you do this, you do this." How you know where I've been in my life? There's people that says nobody knows me, because honestly, I was a kid. I was a kid that was really to myself growing up. Had really not a lot of friends. You know what I mean?
I completely understand that aspect. Trust me. Being in school, especially high school, was very, very, very tough for me, because a lot of the kids were, they were very, I won't say judgmental, but because of my disability, I felt like, I was like the outcast of my high school. So I completely understand on that aspect.
Yeah, and me being like you, kind of like a minority, me growing up in such a rough neighborhood, and I remember there was during the '60s, there was there was a lot of hatred going on between blacks and whites, and it's like I don't want to bring this up because it's a true story. That's during the Martin Luther King era, that's during the John F. Cave era, and that's doing there was so much going on. I mean, really didn't have many friends other than probably just one or two, and that was it. And when you grow up in an environment like this, I just, it's not that I hated anyone, it's just that, growing up and you're a kid, I'm talking about I was a kid, I'm talking about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, you know what I'm saying? You realize it's a ferocious, in the neighborhood I grew up in, people were getting shot left to right. And if people don't believe that, all they have to do is go in and to this day, punching Brownsville and East New York. That's where Mike Tyson grew up, which I know Mike Tyson, because he was in the same neighborhood. And if you look at that neighborhood today, there's so many gangs. You got Bloods, you got Cribs, you got a whole bunch of people getting shot every day. So you couldn't go outside and play. You have to really be ready at all times. Honestly, tell my mom, why don't we live here? Because we were real poor. I was a real poor guy. When I looked at martial arts schools, many times I couldn't afford it. I went to different guys. I practiced, with many guys. When I became into my early 20s, I was already fighting and doing things. I was running around, learning different martial arts with, Dan McGeady, which is a good friend and a good brother, and he remembers, and I used to tell him, hey, man, I want to learn how to fight. That was one of the things I told him. And that was already good. I already knew my martial arts. I mean, no disrespect to anyone. And I hope people don't take this more like I'm showing off or trying to brag, because I'm not. It's basically the truth. I went to him. I went to Moses Powell. I mean, I used to take classes with everybody that could teach me something, how to fight. Different guys, like Grandmaster Lee Brown. I went to, even Shotokan George Cofield, Puppet. Man, I was running different dojos. I'm not dojo jumping. It's just basically when they gave me an opportunity to sit down and train with them just to learn, techniques and stuff, I jumped into the classes like a bat out of hell. Let's put it like this. You know what I mean? Because you know what? It was the opportunity that I needed. You know what I mean? My teachers, Charlie Sparrow, what's his name? Lee Jones, Dan McGeady, George, what's his name? George Cofield at one time, because I did train for the Shotokan at one time. The Taekwondo, I'm trying to remember stuff like that. A whole bunch of teachers. I mean, throughout the years, I practiced with, you name it. I'm always stepping to the dojo with anybody, And today, of course, I'm a Grandmaster, you know what I mean? I train so many people, so many people that sometimes it's unbearable to even talk about it. Even Grandmaster Banks, that I was training on the secretly with him, you know what I'm saying? A bunch of times, you used to train with him. I trained with Charlie Sparrow. I repeat these names again: Charlie Sparrow, Woody Jones, Dan McGeady, Ronald Duncan, Rosa Powell, and a whole bunch of other teachers, And then, of course, when I went overseas, I trained with Bushido Yamamoto, that was his name. That's what I knew him by, what I mean? And a whole bunch of other people that I trained with, And I'm not going to say one person, whether they're all my teachers, they're all teachers. Whatever, when you get a chance to train with someone, I call them teachers, you know what I'm saying? It didn't matter. I was poor. I was a kid. I grew up with a good family, even though I was poor. They had a good background. They trained my brother, John, at the time, So there's a whole bunch of people that I credit to my stuff. And then in Gong Fu in Chinatown in New York City, you know what I mean? I had my seafood there, which I trained, Wing Chun and Bakwa Singing, and then also 7-Star Mantis, And those are things that I wanted to do to develop what I was trying to get at today, martial arts. And I hope that people understand that when I talk like this, I could continue on and on. These people constantly, the only one that's not dead right now There's probably two guys. That's Dan McGeady and somebody else. And from these people that I talk about. You know what I mean? And I'm proud of them. I'm proud of them, and I give them credit mostly. And you can see Dan McGeady still around if you want to ask him some questions. He's still around. Very good man. Lives in Pennsylvania. And most of the other guys, I don't know. I lost contact with most of the people. It's sad that I'm not a kid. People think I'm a kid. Well, I've been around for a long time. I don't want to say my age in the radio, but I'm not a kid. Let's put it like that. And yes, going back to repeating it again, and I hope I'm not boring the folks here. That I wish I would have been. Somebody gives later on some type of credit to what I've contributed. I've performed with Aaron Banks over 45 shows about 260 shows.
Wow.
What I've done in my martial arts, and travel overseas, to England, New Zealand, Japan, you name it. I've been all over, even Bangladesh, even Iraq, even a whole bunch of other places that I don't even talk about, even Salvador, Colombia, Chile, Ecuador, Puerto Rico.
So you've been all over the world.
Mississippi, Minnesota.
well, let me ask you this. I know that you really want to tell your story and stuff, but have you ever thought about, contacting some people and doing like a documentary or even a book even to get your story out there, to the media?
I would love to. I mean, if I can find somebody who can sit down with me and, I don't want to write because when you write, then people think you being narcissistic or thinking that you, this guy that, is bragging. I'm not trying to brag. I want to put my story out there. Absolutely. You know what I mean? And I hope that people understand that. And let me say to some people that think that I am this fighting man, I'm not. I don't hide behind the belt. I would step on the mat with anybody if that's the way it came. And I don't want to come across on your show like that, But honestly, that's who I am. I'm not going to sit here and think people think that stuff. It was funny, man. I mean, sometimes we sit down in our daily activities and stuff like that, and we put footnotes of our personal lives. You know what I mean? Our personal life can be melodramatic at times. You know what I mean? But I try to be positive. I teach kids. I teach soldiers. Like I've been telling you, this is one of the things I do. I'm proud to teach those men and women that go overseas, and I get a chance. Not every time, but I do get a chance to teach them. I've met thousands and thousands of soldiers that have fought the war. I want to say these guys are heroes. Forgetting even going out there and sacrificing their family lives, what they do for the country. So to me, it's an honor to help those guys. I get across sometimes. Some of the soldiers tell me the same thing. When I'm teaching and or so forth, they give me accolades and credit and stuff like that, which I'm proud of them because coming from those guys, hey man. I don't know what to say. I'm so grateful to those brothers that sit down and get out there. I also risk my life every day because I'm a member of the law enforcement community. You know what I mean? People don't know that about me. I get out there, every day, every night. In fact, once I finish with you, I go on and I'm working nights, and that's what I do. And then do 3 days a week I'm teaching in my school and in the community center where I help kids and help people out. You know what I mean? To learn martial arts. Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. And, I'm doing my best to help out the martial arts industry. Like I've said in the past, the reason I want to do this show is, not only is radio my calling, as we discussed, privately, but, these stories will be available online for years to come, even after my time. And, because you've got great martial artists like, Bruce Lee and Jim Kelly out there that, have passed away, and, they may have wanted to do like a radio show like this or something like this to get their stories out there.
Well, I got a chance to talk to Jim Kelly, which I'll share with you since you brought his name up. Very nice guy. I mean, it was a very humbling experience when I sat and talked to him. I got the number from Aaron Banks, and I sat, and we became pretty close because he lived in San Diego, with his daughter, and we talked for a while, and he emphasized, I didn't ever ask him the questions about what made him get up. He said, actually, he was doing tennis for a long time, and he did play some football, some college football and stuff like that for a while, and he did a bunch of stuff. He got into the arts in the early, 70s, and 60s, and was competing at the International Fed Parker and stuff like that. And one of those times, when he was telling me, and he knew about the other fights. Ed Parker was a man that created his own system at one time or another. According to him, and a bunch of other stuff that he told me that as I remember the conversations we talked. We talked pretty much a lot. We became pretty close, and he was a good guy, very nice person, and very unique. He talked about Bruce Lee. He thought Bruce Lee was impeccable, and developing his own style and trying to get the word out there across. I think he said him and Bruce Lee felt the same. Like any other martial artist, that his ability was to do, wanted to be super feature strengths. He pushed himself. He believed that's why he caught the tumor he had in his brain stem. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And, that's what made him perish later on. But he said there was times that when he was filming, that a lot of times, like for instance, people didn't know that. He explained to me that when Bob Wall, cracked the bottles and stuff like that, he explained to me that I think. Bob Wall, from what he was telling me, Bob Wall cracked the bottles and kind of actually cut Bruce Lee in one of his fingers, you know what I mean? And Bruce Lee actually gave him a side thrust, a kick, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. And it really sent Bob Walls to the canvas, with one of his kicks. There was many occasions that that they never talked about within books or stuff like that. A lot of times he said that Bruce, as he was trying to emphasize, because Bruce Lee was a perfection, according to Jim Kelly, was a perfection in reference to his technique that, he used to, when he was doing the fight scenes, he would ask guys to actually come at him full contact, and so a lot of times when he was choreographing his fight scenes, some of the guys used to get hurt and they didn't want to practice with him, and he had to constantly get different guys, stunt guys, and stuff like that. The same thing with him. He said that he got into the arts, because he said Bruce Lee came to him. He didn't come to Bruce Lee and ask him to do the film, him and, what's his name, John Saxon and quite a few other people. Anyway, we talked a lot of good things, and we talked about what I do and stuff like that, and he was very impressed. He liked the videos, and he liked what I've done for many years, and unfortunately, he had told me he was very ill. We were supposed to have done something together. He was very ill. He finally revealed that he had that, cancer and stuff like that. You know what I mean? He was very quiet. He didn't complain. He didn't. I think he did a couple of turnouts in different areas. Meaning he went out and did some things up in back East Coast and came back and did some things up here. Appearances, in other words. He was very also fascinated with MMA. He was a wonderful man. I got a chance. I'm glad a chance to meet him and talk to him. And we became friends, and that was a good thing. I don't talk about it because you know how people are, just the way it is,
Yeah, exactly. And, somebody had written me on Facebook a few months ago, and they're like, why haven't you got Jim Kelly on your show? And then they wrote, I'm actually talking to Jim Kelly, and I'm like, I hate to burst your bubble, dude, but you're talking to a fake page because Jim Kelly passed away. And he was like, oh, no.
Yeah, he passed away.
Yeah.
Last year. But that's the way it is. The bottom line is, it's basically the world is changing. I'm getting older, and I know I have to pass the art on. We're not going to be here forever. We only live one life, you know what I mean? I represent the martial arts because that was I made my decision many years ago Justin, that I was going to represent the martial arts the right way. And I believe I am doing that. Aaron Banks was very flabbergasted of my skill level, and he loved it, what I did. He used to tell me, because I also practiced with him. People didn't know that on the low, you know what I mean? And I would like to talk about Grandmaster Banks. Grandmaster Banks was a fantastic individual, even though he did hundreds of shows to his credit and his ability, to do that. And he was really into the arts, man. I mean, there's one guy that was 85 years old. I remember, if I may say, I talked to him. I was supposed to do a show, if I can bring this up. I was talking to him. He called me every other day. I was like his friend. Me and Grandmaster Frankie Mitchell, and Paul Armand, and some of the other guys that I don't want to mention because maybe they don't want to be mentioned. So I don't say. But he told me who was his real friend. And I remember it was before he died. He called me up. He was ready to go to the Madison Square Garden. He wanted to, because he did a lot of shows for the martial arts. The East Coast. He brought Maso Young. He brought Gogi Yamaguchi into the garden, and what he did was almost what you're doing. Wanted to bring the martial arts community together. You know what I mean? And when he used to talk to me, he'll call me up, and I never charged him for any of the shows. I did everything for free. I tried with my own expense, my own stuff, just to do his show. And every time he had a show, he asked me, "Grandmaster Soto, you're going to be in my shows and come down." But this time he talked to me, and he tells me, and I was talking to me. People don't really know the inside, but I was perhaps maybe one of the last guys to talk to him. And he told me, ready to go to the garden, you ready to do this, so prepare yourself, because he was a promoter as well. He's a great martial artist, but he was a promoter as well. And his thing was to bring diversity to the martial arts, but bring people that from ethnicity of different colors and different cultures to perform in his show. And I loved that about him, and he gave opportunity to some people, even though people may not say that's true or not, you know what I mean? But you have to know your martial arts, or he would not put you up there. He would also critique, you know what I'm saying? He would always tell the person that he wasn't for real, you know what I mean? So he called me up and said, "Hey, Grandmaster Soto, we're going into the garden." And I'm repeating myself, guess what? We're going to do a show, man. I said, prepare yourself because I want you to do it. I said, but, he said, but then he tells me I'm not feeling good, Grandmaster Soto. I said, Grandmaster, you're 85 years old. You need to, get yourself, checked out, go to the doctor and stuff like that. He tells me, well, no, I'm not, I'm fine. That's where he was. I hate taking the medications and stuff like that, and I said, well, don't worry about me. You're a good brother, and I love you. That's the way you should talk. I love you, and be prepared to come and perform for me that particular year. You know what I mean? And I said, when he died, because he died like a year ago, 2 years, almost. So I said to him, okay, are we there, Grandmaster? And he said, check with me next 2 weeks, I want you to check with me next week, and I'll call you back. And usually, when he says he's going to call me back, he would call me back, you know what I mean? So at this time, the second week passed, I call his house. No answer, which is unusual, because usually if I call him, he would return back the call. You know what I mean? Well, so be it, I think it was about 2 weeks later, I get a call from a friend, Frankie Mitchell, Grandmaster Frankie, which is a good friend of mine, telling me that, they found Grandmaster Banks in his house. He was dead for a while. I think it was about 2 or 3 weeks later. I think that's when, I don't remember the whole thing, and I was really saddened because he was a good friend of mine. He was a good person. I've met quite a few people, that has touched my life and has been very inspirational. I saw many grandmasters like that I love, and I will always remember them, because even though I walked through I'm writing a book. I am writing a book. It's called Walking Among the Giants of Martial Arts. And I'm working on it for almost 5 years. And I'm gonna have somebody, probably once I finish, we put it together and put it in the, have it written over. Because like I said, I am not I am an author. I have quite a few books in martial arts, but that was not it is not my thing. And honestly, I was really hurt because it took me a while to, to really get over it, even though, because he was a good person. He always treated me with respect. Every time I went to one of his shows, he was really open-minded, stuff like that. Whatever he's done in his life, people have forgotten him, but he's done a lot for the martial arts. But he will live in infamy he will live in infamy just like the Bruce Lees and Chuck Norris. Remember, Chuck Norris still around. But most of the guys are no longer here, and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, Grandmaster Soto. That's why I always say, live for the day and live for your dreams, because there's not always a tomorrow. You never know. You never know when you're going to cross over to the other side.
That's correct, and that's correct, and that's why what you do here is. It's honorable and decent and fantastic. I suggest you keep doing the talk shows and bringing in people from different ethnicity, because it's a good thing. Justin, you have your calling. Everybody has calling. I got my calling many centuries, decades ago. But, I got my calling. The reason why I make a joke about it, because I always joke about it myself. Many years ago, I didn't even think I would get out from the streets that I was growing up in. It was just one of those things that was ferocious. Mm-hmm. And here I am, representing, and I'm glad that sometimes I get a guy from where I grew up at, writing me a letter saying, we're proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing, because most of the guys that grow up in a poorest condition or in a situation like you growing up in, you realize, hey, I've been blessed, So mm-hmm. when I get these guys letters and fans letters, because I get letters from, it's funny that people don't realize I do get letters from fans around the country. I do got people that really respect me and mm-hmm. and love what I'm doing, and for that reason, I have to continue going on, no matter what people say, what they do. It doesn't matter to me. Mm-hmm. I've always said to people, if you think don't know what I'm doing, get on the mat, because I've been around for a lot of years. You know what I'm saying? And they'll find that they're going to be very surprised on the skill level. Aki and jiu-jitsu, man, mm-hmm. I know that from the back of my head, and I know martial arts. I train, I study weapons. Even though I do swords, the jiu-jitsu and stuff like that, and a lot of other stuff that I acquired in Iron Palm, as you see me break. Iron Palm is a fantastic thing. I learned how to do that many years ago. I study, dynamics of chi and a strength and a power. Mm-hmm. And it does work. There's no gimmicks up to bricks, but you can't. When you're breaking a center block, there's no way you're gonna break that and glue it back together or some crazy shit like that.
I'd say somebody's been watching too many movies for that concept.
I sometimes laugh at these folks. Things, the audacity or the things they say. I'm grateful that I'm able to do that. But it took years. It didn't come overnight. I encourage kids, you can do martial arts. You can be the best, because honestly, we need other people to continue to do martial arts on the rock. We're not going to be here forever. But when I'm doing something or throw, there is no gimmick. Some of my students or people that I've ever worked with, they are nervous because they say, this is real. If they have any questions or they have any doubts, when I work with you, you'll understand. There's no mm-hmm. gimmicks. No, you ain't throwing yourself. You getting thrown, or you getting burned. You getting pain compliance, or you getting tweak the hands, or you getting arm bars or stuff like that. There is no gimmick to it. You know what I mean? What I encourage people to do is CrossFit. I encourage mm-hmm. people to isometrics, geometrics. That's what I do. I run 20 miles twice a week, and 3 times a week I'm doing other types of training. You know what I mean? And the reason why I do that is to keep my, when you get older, if you go to the doctor, they give you this breath test, you know what I mean? And your lungs will close up, if people mm-hmm. don't know that. So I get out there and constantly work out every other day and stuff like that, besides, the times that I'm working. So, because I do hold a steady job, like I said, in the law enforcement community. The strains and the stuff combined together, you always got to keep your head straight, because stress level factors, everybody goes through stress. You have to continue to work out. And if you want to be really good, Don't overburn yourself. And if you're going to follow something, don't overdo it. Change it up, mix it. Because if you mix it, it's going to keep your art and your hunger for the arts to continue in training.
That's what I like to do with this radio show. I like to mix it up a little bit with this radio show because even though it's, martial arts based, I like to have, different actors or even cover some pro wrestling from time to time. And I think that's why I have such a huge following is because people are asking themselves, what is Mr. Harvey going to do next? I mean, I think that that's part of my success. Is I like to mix things up a little bit.
Well, like I said, Art, Justin, you started your radio show a couple of years ago. You've been on the air for a while. And I've been honored and grateful that you have called me and say, "Hey, Grandmaster, I want you to be on my radio." Because, like I said, who am I? And when it comes from you, to me, that's a good thing because guess what? I'm with Justin on a quest, and a quest to educate folks of martial arts, and that is what you're doing. Educating your brothers and sisters that are out there that want to learn true martial arts. And martial arts has gotten really, people don't know what it is. People blame it on the MMA, people blame it on stuff. No, blame it on yourselves with all the bickering, with all the stupidiness. If you take away all that and get to the realism of things, and practice martial arts, what you preach, perhaps people will start filling up classes. Perhaps people start, coming back to the arts the way it used to be. But you can't blame it on one entity. You can't blame it on things like that. So when you get up here in a radio station and bring brothers like us and, to talk about the art, that's a good thing, Justin. So to me, I give you a lot of, they say it, maybe this is a sweet word, kudos, give you a lot of accolades, give you a lot of love and respect for what you do.
Oh, absolutely. And I think any celebrity, I wanted to add to what you just said, I think any celebrity, martial artist, kickboxer, boxer, they should lead by example because what is sad is if somebody does something, disrespectful in the art, these young kids are going to imitate that.
Yes, that's correct. And that's one of the bad parts, and they emulate that, and that's what the problem is. And I think if we just realize that we're professors, a teacher, when a teacher takes upon himself, let's put it like that, a teacher, for instance, the parents trust the individual, right, to teach their children, correct? Because
correct.
They want their children to learn honor, respect, and some form of art to be able to defend themselves, not to become a bully or or a bad person, to be able to get out of situations by talking, by improvising. So when people look up and they see all this bickering and all this dynamics going on, they go, "Why should I put my child into this situation when these guys don't even know?" They act like kids. They act like grown adults, acting like very stupid, you know what I mean? And on the air, putting things out there. So that's what I'm saying. It just basically, if people would understand, stop all that and get together and team up, it would be a great community again, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of people, if they understand that there's still good brothers and sisters out there that are doing martial arts and doing the right thing, and you're filtering and letting people know, hey, these are the people that you can get in contact with. So it's a good thing, Jeff. And again, I repeat, what we do is a good thing. I remember that. And I'm proud to be part of your show, to come in once a blue moon and talk like this, and you give me the opportunity as well to get out on the radio and touch, so people can get to really realize who I am or whoever you have in that radio station, at the time.
Grandmaster, to be honest, if it wasn't for people like you, there would be no show because, believe it or not, you were one of my first guests, in the start on this radio show, on this very radio show. So if it wasn't for guys like you, there would be no show.
Thank you, Justin. Well, it's my honor because, I got to give you kudos, a lot of kudos, because, and I'm not just saying that, I mean that. I mean, you have, people should take an example. And anyone that, when you call them up and say, hey, listen, man, you are in a chair and you lead from example. People don't know your condition. Mm-hmm. You're in a chair, and I don't need to bring that up in the radio, and you don't even care about that. You are out there, you're training, you're trying to do martial arts on the low too, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And people should understand that here's a guy that if anybody's out there that is a capable handicapped person, has problems or lost their legs, these are examples of people like yourself that do these good deeds, and it's out there. Not, it's a hard thing because I've had a lot of students that have had difficulties, throughout the years. Mm-hmm. I have quadriplegic. I had a whole bunch of people that had, I remember I had a student, kidney. He had cerebral palsy, and he couldn't walk. And, he came to me like, no disrespect, because he wanted me to help him, and I did. And I'm going to put that tape up. Actually, I got a video of that. I found the video. And when I get an opportunity, I'm going to put it up because I think people need to see that.
I would love to see that. As a matter of fact, if your student is comfortable coming on the show, I would even welcome your student to come on the show and express this and talk about their story.
Yeah, it's amazing, and he's a quiet kid. He's a quiet. Now he just recently got married, and I'm very proud that I was able to help him some way, getting out there. So I understand the quest, the problems, the pain that anybody with a situation like you have at times. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's not easy. It's not very easy. I remember one time you went to see Frank Dukes, called me up. You were very agitated because you missed the plane. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Is that correct? And you
I remember that.
Yes. People just left you there. They're supposed to come and get you to go inside the plane. And I feel bad for you because I know how that can be. Things like mm-hmm. that is what people don't understand that people with a situation go through. You know what I mean? It is very, very difficult.
Absolutely. And another example, too, is if I'm not mistaken, after my brother had passed, you were one of the first people I actually called.
Yes.
When my brother had passed. So.
Right. And it's
yeah.
But thank you. I give you kudos. Thank you for what you do. Thank you that you keep this radio going. And your Hall of Fame award is from Dr. Jim Thomas. It's a very nice gesture and a very good thing that you deserve that. And you should more than, you know what I mean?
I gotta say though, Master Soto, when I first heard that I was going in the Hall of Fame, I was a little overwhelmed and actually speechless. I'm like, really? Because there's so many great Grandmasters that, have been studying the martial arts for years that's in this.
Yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I know you deserve it, my friend, brother. You deserve that. There's anything that you do, you deserve it. Let's put it like that. Public needs to know that you deserve that. It's not something that you earn it your way. Sometimes, if people there's a thing that I say to myself: if you reach out and touch someone's hand to make this place a better world, and I think you're the shining example of those type of folks that put a quest and you're doing it. So give yourself a tap in the back, my brother. You deserve all the kudos from a lot of people.
Yes, sir. And I hope, Grandmaster Soto, that me and you actually get to eventually meet in person and actually sit down and maybe have a meal and just talk.
Yeah, we need to do that. I need to come up to West Virginia. I know that's where you at, and you know, are you next to the Appalachian Mountains out there, sir?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Are you next to those Appalachian Mountains? You know what I mean? Big mountains.
I live. I know where that's at, but what I can do is whenever you are ready to actually come for a visit, I can give you directions.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, we should try to make that a goal for maybe 2015 or something.
Yeah, we should. And I'd like to one day, you know, maybe, one of these days, maybe I do a show with some 4, 5, 6 different Grandmasters with you. You know, hopefully, bring them on radio and stuff like that, and talk about the arts itself. You know, what can you do? But to me, I don't want to, like I said, I didn't come on the radio to disrespect anyone or anything like that. It's just basically saying the truth. And sometimes people need to hear that message that we need to keep going. Next 2015, I'm ready to put a show on. I want to say that to the audience. Support the show. I'm going to put different Grandmasters up on the panel and to do a great show again. I did one show. It was very successful in New York City. This time, I think I'm going to be holding it in sometime. Again, I'm going to try to do it someplace else. We have quite a few Grandmasters. We have some Japanese people coming in from Japan, and we're going to be doing a fantastic show, and I'm going to put it together, and I'm already working on it. So 2015, I can't give you a date because, all those things take a while, and I want to make sure I have all the stuff in place before I put it out there, but I am planning on having Oh, absolutely, Grandmaster Soto. We could make it a goal 2015 because my audience may not realize I've actually known you quite a few years now. Oh, yeah, that's correct. You've been very good friends, and you've always been a fantastic individual with me and call me and you look for me, and I'm grateful to you for that, and to be a friend, and you never pass judgment on anyone, which I love that about you, Jeff. And honestly, you're not out here trying to stir fights or action. You're trying to say the truth, and that's what I know about you. Keep the good work, my friend. Keep a good friend and live long and prosper, like they say, Oh, absolutely. And before I end the show, Grandmaster Soto, one thing that amazes me that I remember seeing a while back is something on YouTube where you actually somehow get your finger through a pop can through an amazing way. Can you take the audience through that? Yeah, there's no gimmick to that. Let's put it like this. I practiced many years, like I said, iron palm training, through rice, gravel, sand. Many years I've done that, and I do that still to this day. I have a bucket full of sand and rocks and stuff. I put my finger, so just to condition my fingers like a spear hand, stuff like that. So when there is no gimmick, I've had people look at this, they give me a can, and I do it all the time. The trick, there is no trick, but the trick to this is basically, if there is a trick, again, I'll repeat, and I'm going to say it like that, is basically to use the speed of your hand and precise in position. It's like the body, I've always wanted to be able to stick my fingers to a human skin and twist it and stop the heart or stuff like that. I'm able to do that, whether people believe it or not. So with that, it's just holding the can, and there's no other way to do it unless somebody else holds it for you. And speed go right through it. And I know it's hard to see that in the video. But that's basically what I'm doing. There's no holes in it. There's nothing, because I've got some people, if you see the tape, you have some people sitting there, and they bring the can to me. And I've done quite about 100 of those things, practicing. There's no gimmick to it. It's just basically straightforward, practicing your chi, practicing your energy, and practicing strengthening up your fingers. Oh, wow. And my last question to Grandmaster Soto, because I don't think that I've ever
touched on this on previous shows with you, but do you do dim mak as well? Because I know that it's very famously known through different martial artists.
Dim mak, a lot of people, dim mak is the learning the different strikes in the body, the meridians.
Mm-hmm.
You have pressure points, you have meridians, you have veins that create blood clot. Okay? There's no gimmick to it. If you hit the back of the vein stem, it will drop. You have no substance. That's why boxers, they don't want to hit. When boxers, they tell them don't hit in his neck because the neck easy to knock somebody out. The dim mak is basically learning where those meridians are at and learning where to strike. Those pressure points is a little different. Pressure points is what gives you certain contusion on those arms and certain things. Okay, people don't confuse. Dim mak is basically the dynamics of your meridians and learning where to strike to make that person, just like in acupuncture. The acupuncture person trains. There's different veins or different places to put those into the muscle or into the side of the body, wherever the pain is leading, so you can release pressure. So you all have those meridians. And when I'm striking you, if I'm striking you at an angle to those areas, which I'm not going to get involved with, maybe next time we'll have a show about it, and I can probably go through it in depth. Angles and stuff like that. You can collapse the lung. You can
immediately stop the heart.
You can stop the heart and stuff like that with those type of things. Tenjiji is the art that people don't never heard of, but that's basically when you're practicing striking, you can kill a person. And it takes a long time. Tweak the hand, redirects, not pain compliance. Pain compliance is different. Tweak the hand, redirects, and pinches the nerve, and it stops also the person's airway. Just like you see me in some of my videos. It does work. It's just training and experiencing the body. The body's not meant to be twisted at an angle. So when you are practicing this, it takes years of understanding that you can hurt somebody. You know what I mean? And that's from at the highest level training. I know George Dillman. I know a whole bunch of other people that have done certain things. I'm not going to discredit them or disrespect them.
Exactly. Exactly. And the reason I was asking is, because I know a lot of famous martial artists in my circle that, know this technique, and I want to say to my audience, do not do this technique if you are not trained to do so, because this is a very lethal technique. So, very lethal.
Yes, it is. And it takes years, and it's like you take a gun in your hands, and you've been trained to shoot center mass. Keep that gun in your hand, and please, kid, when I'm talking, I'm just talking, not because if you're listening to Justin Harvey's radio, don't take it the wrong way. I'm in law enforcement. I've been trained how to use a weapon for many years. When you're shooting somebody, you're shooting straight center mass. But they train. They're giving classes. The same thing with Denmark and Denmark, an iron palm, vibrating palm. All that takes years of understanding. If you're practicing any type of martial arts or Kung Fu or whatever, it takes years of understanding. Kung Fu is beautiful. It takes years. Don't underestimate it. A lot of people think that Kung Fu is blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. No. Kung Fu is a beautiful art. It takes time and training. Jiu-Jitsu takes time and training to understand different applications, how to proceed, how to enter that person's center of gravity, how to take them down, or how to put them in a chokehold and lock, stuff like that. All that takes years of training. And any other art takes years of training. So if you want to, people ask me, is this artist better than others? That all depends on the man that knows the martial arts himself the best. If the martial artist knows his technique, then that's what he's going to do. You know what I mean? So practice, my brothers and sisters. I want to thank Justin Harvey, for giving me this great opportunity to be in this radio show that he's hosting. Please support him. He's a wonderful young man. And he is leading the martial arts to beautiful direction, and more so than a lot of other people that get these radio stations and sit down and trusting others. I'm grateful that you have this radio station, Justin Harvey, and I hope that the following grows and be prospered in your communication to the world. You know what I mean? Do keep doing radio stations, Justin. It's an honor. And I want to say belated happy Thanksgiving and a wonderful holidays, Christmas, and so forth.
You too, sir. And I wanted to let you know in advance, not necessarily that someone would ever do, a movie about my life, but as you know, I'm doing extraordinary things. And if I'm ever contacted about, they want to write about me or do a film, I will make sure that you're personally included.
Thank you, Justin. That's so nice of you. Thank you. You'll have a wonderful holiday. Stay in touch, my friend. And,
you too, my friend.
And keep going, trucking, bring you a good 2015 to all everybody, humanity. With this groups of ISIS, I hope they go away, and I hope they, people like that need to be taught a lesson. You know what I mean? There's a whole bunch of things, out there that we all can do to help support our soldiers and people and brothers and sisters that are out there fighting these wars on crime, stuff like that. Bring harmony and coordination to the spiritual guidance of life. That's what I say.
Oh, absolutely. And we'll go ahead and let you go, Grandmaster Soto. And, keep in touch with me and the Justin Harvey Show. And you're welcome back anytime, my friend.
Thank you, Justin. Take care of yourself, my friend.